Hey guys, so I got another opposed twin to work on. Salvaged this one from my buddy's junk pile. He's going to junk it, and I said, well, I'll give you a couple of dollars for it. But anyway, it turns over barely. The flywheel, the screen's bent, and something's rubbing up there, and there's no starter on it. It looks like the coil's been taken off of it. Well, I got an old starter and an old coil put on it, hopefully enough to get it running. But it turns over, and you can feel air coming out of both exhaust pipes when it turns over, so it hasn't thrown a rod or nothing like that. But I got a couple of problems right off the bat. Notice that the dipstick is missing. I looked inside and I couldn't see it through the dipstick thing, so hopefully it's not inside the engine. I'm missing the bolt that goes on here. The main purpose of this video is I don't have a video on cleaning and rebuilding this type of carburetor, so I figured it'd be a good time to do that. I don't have the diaphragm and stuff to go in the fuel pump part of it, but sometimes you can revive them enough to get them going, so we're going to try that to see what we're going to do with it. So with the air filter removed, you get 3 5/16 bolts here. And don't drop a bolt down the carburetor. Of course, I guess it don't matter in this case. We're taking the carburetor off to clean anyway. And do this. And you get your oil breather hose here. And you just pop it through like that. And you're ready to take this cover off here so we can get to the, show you how the linkages and everything else is set up on this carburetor. And there are several variations on this carburetor on these opposed twins. And this one is the 3-bolt fuel pump with the fuel mixture adjustment screw. On my other 19, I think it's a 19.5 opposed twin, it looks identical to this one. The carburetor does not have a mixture adjustment screw. I had some people say look again because they all have it, but no, they don't. I always wanted to do away with this type of manifold and have 2 separate carburetors on there, one for each cylinder. But the linkages and stuff ain't too hard on this. I'm going to go ahead and hook this one fuel line here. You see the one that goes on the bottom here goes over and hooks on the block. That's your vacuum line that gives the pulse for the fuel pump to work. The fuel pump is this front part right here, and there ain't a whole lot to them, but the rubber diaphragms always go out on them. This is the oil breather hose. It goes to the cover that we just took off. This is your fuel line coming in from your tank here. It needs replaced bad. You can use a fuel line for this right here if you need to. This is your governor arm here. It hooks into this plastic piece here. It's just got a bolt going through it. And it hooks into your throttle plate here on the carburetor. This is your idle speed adjustment. And down here is your fuel mixture adjustment screw. And over here is your choke. Your choke cable would hook in here. So that's how your choke would work. You got different holes to set the choke depending on how fast you want the choke to close when you pull it, or how much pull you want on it. And down here is your governor speed adjustment. Down here, your governor spring. That's your idle governor spring there. You can adjust the governor idle by bending this tab. But your actual governor spring is right in the center right there. You can barely see it in that dark right there. This black wire would be coming from the coil, which in this case is missing. And the other 2 wires are your recharge system. And to remove the carburetor, you got 2 bolts here. You get one here, one here. And this plastic spacer will come out with it. And once you get it loose, and you'll have to disconnect the linkage here because it will separate from here. And that connector piece will stay on here. So let me get these 2 bolts out and look at this carburetor. Then we're going to go ahead and pull the flywheel shroud off and look, see what's going on with it. Okay, so I got the 2 mounting bolts removed. Then you just got to unhook this throttle linkage right here. Just like that. You just leave all that on there. This is just sitting there. The axis serves as a spacer and a gasket. So this is your actual carburetor. These carburetors are pretty simple. They're pretty good carburetors when they're running, you know. Okay, so I went and took the flywheel cover off. Nothing's rubbing now. I think where all the bolts were loose from that cover. These covers are kind of picky anyway, and I think something was just hitting it. But somebody took the coil off of it, probably worked on another motor or something. This must have been a parts motor, because the coil and the starter's missing, and hopefully that's everything. But engine turns over. You can feel air coming out of both exhaust pipes, not at the same time, but so the valves are working and nothing's broken internal as far as that all your main engine parts go. But it don't feel like it has much compression, which it's probably just been sitting for a while. So I'll put some oil in the cylinder before I try to start it. But yeah, let's get back to the carburetor and see what it can do. 'Cause I got a coil to put on here. It's a good used one. Came off my 14 horsepower. It should be the same thing. Before I get started taking it apart, I want to point out that this was already loose, and it looks like the is actually missing. So I'm assuming somebody took that out for another engine, and so I want to see if the one I got in the 19 horsepower is going to be the same, which it should be. If not, then we'll just skip over that part for right now. And another thing I want to say is if this video seems confusing or something as far as how this goes together, or if you're better at looking at pictures, you might want to get the blow-up diagram of how these come apart. That shows all the parts. That's actually kind of handy when you're putting it back together, especially for like the fuel pump diaphragm part. The rest of it about like any other small engine carburetor, but just a little tip that might come in handy for you. Everybody's not the same. These are 5/16 drive screws, bolts. 4 of them. Some of these have 3. There'll be a gasket under here too, and I'm hoping it stays intact. Like I said, I don't have a kit to work with on this. I just recently got this and thought I'd mess around with it and see what it's going to need. Yeah, it came apart easier than I thought. I bet you this thing's been apart before. It's actually pretty clean, really. A little bit of dirt down here. You can see this opens up to that. You would be able to see the jack going through there, or nozzle. But in this case, it's been removed. So we're going to see if I can find another one to put in it. But we'll go ahead and take it completely apart first. That's the best pair of needle noses I've found. Is Channel Lock brand. I just like to feel pay for it. But it's your float. If you slosh it around and you hear gas inside, and you know you got a hole in it. Here with the needle valve. You can actually, if it's just a couple little pinholes, you can actually solder these. And like I said, on this one you get 3 1/4 inch drive bolts. There are another model with 4. It's a different part number for the carburetor kit. Work basically the same, just made different for some reason. This motor's set outside for several years like this, so it's hard to tell what kind of shape it's in. There are a couple, 1 or 2 springs in here. You want to keep that in mind. This is the part where I was talking about, mainly where I was talking about, where the diagram might be easier for you to follow, but it's your main gasket here. This actually don't look too bad, to be honest about it. This is your gasket here for the front, and this plastic block comes off. There's where your spring and everything is. Everything's pretty clean. Kind of surprised me, really, to be honest about it. This is your diaphragm for the fuel pump. It's not soft as it should be, but and your 2 flaps. We'll try to get this to open up a little bit better. But you see, everything needs cleaned on this. Just oxidized where it's been sitting outside. Go ahead and take the adjustment screw out too, so I can clean all the passages. It's in pretty good shape. So now you just, anywhere you see a hole or something, just spray through it, and make sure you got safety glasses on. You want to clean it up real good, get any of that corrosion out of it and everything. And if you feel it's necessary, you can take this gasket off, but they usually tear. If they stick pretty good like this, you might want to just leave it alone. This one's actually coming off. I'm going to take a screwdriver up underneath it here, and sometimes you can kind of do that and save them. Take your time with them, don't get in a hurry. If you got a new one, don't worry about it, just get it off any way you can. See there. That way you can clean these ports and everything a little bit better. So yeah, the carburetor is basically completely apart, and you can see you can take a choke plate out and everything, but you really don't have to. As long as you can get to all these ports and everything, you'll be good. Just clean out any passage and everything, and like I said, have safety glasses on because you don't know where it's going to come back out. So I'm going to do all this off camera. I'm going to try to find this jet, and we'll get back to you after it's all back ready to put back together. Okay, so this is the type of jet that this is supposed to use. This is out of the other carburetor. It's got the 4-bolt fuel pump, and it won't fit in this one if it's too loose. So for a very temporary solution, just to get it running, I'm going to put a spring in here. Now, I don't recommend doing this. I'm just doing this to test the engine. I ain't going to leave it. It may not work anyway. I'm going to put that in there to keep tension on it. That way it won't move, and that spring will let fuel go down through it. Like I said, it's a very temporary setup just to get the motor running. I'll be ordering a kit for it just to get that jet. That way I know it'll be right, but hopefully we can get it running with this, like that. Now we're ready to start putting it back together. I'm going to put the gasket in first. Then you're ready to put the float in. Needle valve just catches on this. Like that. As long as your float sits level, it should be alright. The little spring goes on this knob right here, just like that. And your diaphragm goes on. Just like this. And you get to kind of hold everything while you're putting the gaskets on. You need to put your 3 bolts through it, and you should be good to go. You're going to get these pretty snug, not too tight or you'll crack the plastic on it. And you put your mixture adjustment screw back on. You get a spring here. And it just screws in all the way till it bottoms out, and back it off about 1.5 turns. And you should be ready to put it back on. put your 2 bolts in from the bottom and you're ready to go after you hook up the vacuum line and your fuel line. So I'm going to replace them. So I'm just going to leave the cover off of it for right now, but you just got these 3 bolts. They'll go in and your choke cable will hook up here. Bad spark plug. Well guys, it seems like it run pretty good now. I had to change this one spark plug. It wasn't firing at all. You could unhook it while it was running, it wouldn't make no difference. So I put another plug in that side and it made a big difference there, as you've seen. I'm still leaking gas around here, and like I said, that jet's not right, but there's enough to get it running, which is all I was trying to do. So I'm going to get a carburetor kit for it. I'm not going to make a video because I pretty much showed all the steps on this. But the only thing I didn't change on this was the gasket that's stuck on there. But I would be changing that when I do it. But yeah, I just want to try to get it running. It didn't smoke any, so it should be a pretty solid engine. So it'd be a good backup to have. So if you have any questions or comments about this type of carburetor, and the 4-bolt one's very similar to that, just leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks for watching.